Subscribe.
People are talking about Project Blue Beam. They're basically going to use false flag attack in order to make you believe that ETs are attacking us.
Did we really go to the moon?
Yes, but they're hiding everything. They didn't show you the base, and there is an American base there. There are abductees who were taken there under false pretenses, and there are witnesses that tell you we've been abducted by a UFO. This is all man-made stuff that makes you believe that ETs did that. Very few people know exactly what's going on. There is a story that you can check on Eisenhower. He wanted to know what's happening in Area 51. He said, if you're not going to open up, I'm sending my army in to take over. They made a compromise, and they let him send 2 of his representatives from the White House to Area 51.
What did they find? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Ray. Today, we are here to speak about the Secret Space Program, or SSP for short. There's a lot of questions I have for you today. There are a lot of questions that many people have for you today, but before diving in, as usual, I want to say thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here again.
Absolutely. Again, thank you very much for your time. Now, I want to dive right in. When it comes to the Secret Space Program, there are many people that speak about it. There are many people that have their own experiences within the Secret Space Program. And of course, it doesn't just cover 1 or 2 countries. It's a worldwide initiative, maybe even intergalactic initiative. Now, I only know so much because I don't have experience with something like the Secret Space Program. My question for you is 2-part. Number 1, do you have any experience with the Secret Space Program? And number 2, how would you even define the Secret Space Program in your own words with what you know?
I'll start by saying I have knowledge about the SSP. I'm not part of it. I wasn't working with them. I do know some of the people involved. And I do know the history. And I do have a lot of information about it. SSP is not just an American thing. Most countries have SSP. Germany, Italy, Russia, the United States.
I'm assuming NASA is part of the Secret Space Program?
Yes.
What's the intention behind it?
Number 1 is to communicate with other entities, other planets, collaborate with them and work with them, both on Earth and other planets, being able to exchange entities, meaning human beings go to different planets, and ETs come over here. Thousands and thousands of ETs live among us. It could be your next door neighbor, and you don't even know it.
Before we get into that topic, let's stick to the Secret Space Program for just a moment, because I do have a lot of questions that I know a lot of people are going to ask, and also controversial questions like, number 1, how long has the SSP been around for? We're talking about this planet right now, so everything having to do with Earth. And did we really go to the moon?
First of all, not only did humans go to the moon, but we also went to other places, such as Mars, which I know sounds crazy. Not only did we visit other planets, we actually built bases there. Structures, physical structures.
When you say we, is this something you were a part of?
No, I mean we, humanity.
How do you know we went to the moon?
Like I said, I have personal information and personal knowledge because I've been engaging with those types of people.
So when they say the Americans were the first ones to go to the moon, is that what really happened, or is there more information that you have to share with us?
No, the Americans are not first ones. The Americans, the Russians. This is not the Americans or the Russians. Whoever is in charge of these operations is the cabal, or those families we were speaking about. The very first nation who went to the moon, who did. The first time SSP was invented was done in the modern era by the Germans in 1930.
1930?
Yeah, that's when the Germans started it.
That was already before the war?
Yes.
Why the Germans? I know that there was a lot of, and there still is, by the way, a lot of documentation and evidence showing that the Germans were working on anti-gravitational propulsion machines, and they had a base in Antarctica, and all of this is documented knowledge.
And this is all true.
But why the Germans?
I don't know why it started with the Germans, but it's not, again, the Germans were chosen as a nation to do that.
By who?
By the cabal. You are dividing it by names. Americans, Russians, Germans. No, it's all done by one entity called the cabal, or the families we spoke about before. It's all the same people all the time. They chose Germans, for a specific reason. German scientists were the ones to work on it first. Obviously, they received information, technology, and knowledge from the cabal. Information, knowledge, and technology that the cabal had previously, before 1930. And they decided to use the Germans as the tool to make it happen. The first base was done in Antarctica before the war even started. They had bases under the ground in Antarctica and submarines under the ground. Those submarines eventually were being converted into spaceships. That means a submarine could also fly.
How did they go about doing that?
That's the technology they had. But the Germans, we can call them the Nazis, because they were using the Nazi flag when they did it. So the first submarine/spaceship that went towards space, towards the moon, towards Mars, had Nazi flags on them.
Okay, one second. I have a lot of questions because you're throwing a lot at me right now. Does any of this connect to somebody who we spoke about in the past? They call him Admiral Richard Byrd. There's a lot of people that speak about him in connection to two things. The first thing is hollow earth, and the second thing is what people call flat earth. And there are major controversies about both of those things, and we're not going to talk about those today. But does any of this connect to Admiral Richard Byrd because he was around the same time period that you're talking about?
Yes, after the war, when the Germans so-called lost the war, the Americans won. The West won. He was chosen again by the cabal, not by the Americans, but by the cabal, to go to Antarctica as an expedition, as a research expedition. But I think they all failed to tell you that when he went there, he went together with 12 ships, a few submarines. I think there were about 12 planes. The project was to take over the German bases.
So it wasn't just him going?
No, he didn't go by himself. He had a big crew with him, a huge crew. They basically took over the bases and gave it to the Americans, who supposedly took them over.
Meaning they took over the German bases?
Yeah, and from that point, it became American bases that still exist today. At the same time, there are tunnels and caves, and all kinds of safety deposit boxes that are huge safes for the cabal to keep their inventory there, which we spoke about before. It could be gold, silver, all kinds of paperwork. This is the place where they kept their fortune, and they still do today.
If you're saying that the cabal chose Germany and the cabal chose the Americans, why would they care for the Americans to go take over a German base?
Because after the war, Germany went down. Communism basically took over in Europe, and America was the new Messiah, the new promised land. They decided to do it through the Americans, gave it to the Americans, so-called, with the control of the cabal. You have to understand, you have a government, and you have a shadow government in every country. Israel, Germany, America, Canada, it doesn't matter. The government you see on TV is the government that they make you think you voted for. But they are puppets who are being run by the cabal through the shadow government.
Do we know any of these individuals who were part of the shadow government?
Of course we do. The families we are speaking about over and over again.
No, but you're making it. So are you saying, okay, one second. You're making a differentiation between the government that we know, the shadow government, and the cabal. Is the shadow government different than the cabal? Is there an intermediary between these families and the government on TV?
No, the shadow government is the cabal. The cabal is taking their own people they trust, people from their group, and they put them in charge in the shadow government, who really runs your president, your prime minister, and so forth.
I understand. So you're telling me that Germans were the first ones to actually go to space, and they went to the moon in the 1930s.
In the modern era, yes.
Now Mars. Well, when did anybody go to Mars, and why didn't they speak about it on TV? Wouldn't they boast about it to say, look what we did?
They're not speaking about a lot of things that they do. They want to keep things as a secret because they have their agendas. And they will only release information when it serves their agenda. You have to understand everything from the day you were born. Most information you receive, going to school, reading your history books, it's all nonsense. It's all lies. 90% is lies. Don't forget, who writes history? The winners. The winners will never tell you the true story. They will tell the story according to them. You never hear a story about history from the point of view of the one who lost the war, only from the winners. And it's never true. They never tell you exactly how things went down. They never tell you all the crimes they committed. And it's all, again, going back to the cabal, which is those families we discussed before.
Why Mars? What do you think the agenda is here?
First of all, there are many planets. We are aware of the moon, and we are aware of Mars, because that's what people discuss on TV.
Well, we're aware of all the other 9 planets as well.
The moon and Mars. The reason I mentioned those two is because not only they landed there, but they built structures there, bases.
For what purpose?
Getting information, exchanging people from other planets to over here, and from over here to over there. You're talking thousands and thousands of people.
People that volunteer?
No, but again, I don't want you to get confused, because you're always asking me if the ETs are evil. No, they're not. They're not abducting, or killing, or taking people against their will to do things. When you see that, and it happens, I'm not saying abductions do not happen. They happen all the time. And there are witnesses that tell you we've been abducted by a UFO. This is all man-made stuff that makes you believe that ETs did that. So when you see somebody on TV who says, listen, I was kidnapped, I was abducted, they did certain testing on me, or whatever it is, they tortured me, they did this, they did that, then they brought me back. This was all made by man. But the victim believes that some ET did it to him. Do you understand? I know it's very hard to comprehend, but we'll take it slow. So if you want to ask more questions, go ahead.
I still don't understand what their agenda is of building bases on Mars. Just for exchange? Are there sinister agendas? Are there negative purposes?
Why are they building army bases all over the world?
Because they have something to fight.
Same thing. They want to take over the world. For them, it's not only Earth. They want to conquer everything possible. Since they have the technology and the knowledge to do it, they're doing it. If they can take every planet and take over and build bases there, they will do it. But so far, they've succeeded with only 2 that I know about. Same thing goes for the Americans. They're telling you we've been to the moon, but they're not telling you that they've been to Mars. As a matter of fact, they're painting a picture that it's physically impossible to be there, which is not true.
What do you mean?
According to them, humans cannot live on Mars.
And according to you?
They could, with the right equipment, and they're doing it as we speak.
Where do you think originally, if you're saying the Germans in the modern era, where do you think they originally got the technology from?
From the Cabal, with the help of some ETs that were not aware of what was going on.
And the Cabal got it from where?
You remember we spoke about the Pyramid Code and the information that was given at the time? EMP, EMLP, the staffs. It gives you power. It gives you power of healing people. It gives you the power of breathing life into a dead person. The main thing is EMP and EMLP. It's a great technology that can build new things, but it can also destroy. This information, this technology, happens to be in their hands till today, for many, many years. They use this technology in order to develop the German so-called technology, to get a submarine to become a UFO. Because almost every UFO that we know about today, most of them, not every one of them, could become a submarine and go underwater. They have the power. They don't use nuclear power. They use different energy, free energy that we spoke about. They know how to harness the energy in such a way where they can survive underwater for about a year without coming out of there.
Where is the secret space program funded from? Subscribe. Hey, thanks for watching this video. There's so much more I'd like to dive into, but unfortunately, we can't do that here thanks to the heavy censorship efforts from big tech. If you want to explore this topic further, you can dive deep by accessing our entire uncensored library on unified.tv. There's a link in the description below this video if you want to check it out. A membership to Unified TV gives you unlimited access to hundreds of uncensored podcasts, investigative journalism, documentaries, films, and content that was once available on major streaming platforms like Netflix, but is now banned from the internet. For just $14.99 a month, which is less than $1 a day, you get access to it all. Your subscription also helps keep the platform running free from censorship and corporate influence. Please consider supporting us and enjoy all of our unfiltered and thought-provoking content in return. Thank you very much, and I will see you on Unified TV.